Hello there. Now, anyone got sore feet yet, or is it too early in the day? Yeah, I have too. Oh my goodness, why did I wear heels? Ridiculous. Loving the crowd today, and we're all so engaged, which it does make a big difference when you're on the stage and you're talking to people, seeing people actually, and some people taking notes. It does make a big difference. So thank you so much for your involvement, your passion. It does feel like everybody here is truly, truly interested and passionate about this subject. So it's really lovely. So I know that you're going to absolutely love this next panel session. So first of all, in a second, we're going to hear from Marie Kondo herself, virtually, but still, that would be great to kind of kickstart this panel session. For some people, tidying is a calling. Now, for my kids, being messy is a calling, but for some people, tidying is a calling. And so the KonMari Method is such an important thing to many people. So I have a panel that are going to give us some insight to that, and we'll also do a Q&A at the end. So let me invite them onto the stage first of all. So we have Jenny Hayes from Lightly.Love.
Hello.
Let's give them a warm welcome. We have Sue Spencer, A Life More Organised. I would clap, but... And Maureen Andre from En Route to Joy.
That's it.
Right, so first of all, we're going to hear from Marie Kondo up on the screen, and then we'll have a good chat afterwards.
Green and Tidy Show へようこそ。今日はイギリスの片付けコンサルタントさんが大勢こんまりを代表してこちらへ来ています。今回は私が考案した人生が変わる片付けメソッド、こんまりメソッドがどのように生まれたかをご紹介したいと思います。私が片付けに興味を持ち始めたのは5歳の時。当時から日本の婦人の生活雑誌を熟読しているような子供で、当時から料理、掃除、洗濯、片付け、裁縫など家の中全般に興味がある子供でした。そのしたことを試すことが私にとってはもうまるでゲームに勝つための戦略満載のガイドブックのように思えて、ここでのアイデアやヒントを全て試して片付けという今の私の道を歩むことになったんです。大学時代、お友達の家を片付けるということが私の趣味でした。大学時代って一人暮らしを始める方がとても多いので、そういった友達を見つけてはお願いだから片付けさせてっていうことを頼んで片付けさせてもらっていたんです。これがそのうちこんまりちゃんが家に来るととっても綺麗になるらしい、お家が綺麗になるという噂が学校中に広まるようになったんです。とはいえこの片付けというものが仕事になるというふうには私には思えなかったので、大学卒業後は人材紹介会社で営業の仕事を始めていました。そこでも会社に勤めをしながらも自分の副業として片付けレッスンをするという日々を続けていたんです。こういう場面を見ていくうちに、そのうち片付けのレッスンもどんどん予約が増えていくようになって、最終的には会社を辞めて片付けコンサルタントとして独立するようになったんです。幼い頃からの研究と経験をもとにこんまりメソッドが生まれました。その後本を出版して多くの人にこのメソッドを伝えることができるようになりました。すると家だけではなくって片付けをすることで人間関係や仕事のやり方、そういった人生そのものがときめくようになりましたという言葉をたくさんいただくようになったんです。次のパネルディスカッションではこんまりコンサルタントさんにリードしていただきます。まずは音叉の繊細な音を聞きながらご自身の心も整えていきましょう。ありがとうございます。それでは続きをお楽しみください。
That's slightly louder than I think anyone was expecting. I was also wondering whether part of the KonMari method, it tells you how to have hair as tidy as hers, because I'm always going to have messy hair. I'd like to get to know you guys first of all. So Jenny, first of all, if you could just tell us a bit about yourself.
I'm Jenny. I live in Bath. I am a single mum with 3 kids. 2 of them are older now and have left home. They're 21, 19, and I have a 16-year-old. And I wouldn't say tidying was my calling. Definitely from early on, I've always liked to rearrange furniture, and I have a real love of simplicity and flow. And after university, I went and lived in Japan, and that kind of just reinstigated this love of simplicity being there. And I won't go into too much detail because I'm sure we'll talk about it more, but this isn't something that I ever thought about doing. It's something I've kind of found myself in, and it is incredible and a really beautiful thing to be able to share with everyone. So yeah, lovely to be here.
Thank you. Lovely to have you here as well. And Sue, what about you?
I live in Winchester in Hampshire, and I'm a mum as well. My kids are almost off the books. They're 23 and 20.
That's what you think.
Yeah. Boomerangs. And I found KonMari when I was on a career break. So I had a busy job, don't we all? And my husband and I both work full time. So weekends as the kids were growing up were all about spending family time together and taking them out to football, all that sort of stuff. So I wouldn't say our house was really cluttered, but it was really full. If you open cupboards, and I know when I go to my client's house, it looks lovely, and you open the cupboard and it all falls out. I took a career break when my son was 18 because I just thought, actually, he's going to end up at university and I won't have spent any time with him because work was so full on. I'm not very good at sitting on my hands doing nothing, having been a full-time working mum, and I came across Marie's book, read it, and we'll talk about it, I'm sure, but there are a few things that really clicked with me, and I all of a sudden thought, this is why it hasn't worked before. And I tidied my home, and life got easier. And I didn't bother going back to work because I just thought there are so many other mums and families who are living the sort of lifestyle I'd led before who could benefit from doing this. Now, professional organising wasn't something I knew about, so it was a big leap to change, but it makes such a difference to people's lives, it was worth it.
Thank you. And Maureen?
I'm Maureen, and I'm the consultant with the messy hair. It's so loud.
You do messy better than me, though. You've got it nailed.
That's it. So yes, I've been in London for probably 15 years now, and only recently moved to Greenwich. That was very easy today, despite the strikes. And I came across Mary early last year, I think, so still very recent, but it was mind-blowing, the approach. I know it sounds really cheesy, but it is life-changing. So I didn't even think I should go through the tidying festival. I thought, okay, I'm going to dedicate a part of my life to this. I wanted to go through the full cycle of consultancy even before going through the book. So yeah, it was really something that attracted me. And here I am. I got certified earlier this year and just launched my business.
So can you tell us a bit more about that journey?
Yeah, so it all happened when I was on holiday at my mum's. And as one do, you want to disconnect during holidays, but I didn't do that. I received an invitation from to attend a webinar, like a virtual webinar, about zero waste. And there was this KonMari consultant on there, and she was explaining the method and the folding. And the more she was speaking, the more I could see it fit in my life. And I thought, I'll give it a go. I'll just want to understand. And then I went through the whole certification, and we can talk about the program as well in a minute. But you have to go yourself through the tidying festival, and just reading the book and applying it at home, I really felt the difference in my life as well. So it's not only about your home, it's a holistic approach. And just seeing, when we're supporting clients going through this, when you see it in their eyes, it just clicks that it's going to help them with the rest of their life as well, is the best part for me.
Fantastic. We started to hear, Sue, about your journey, how you discovered KonMari and your journey, but tell us a bit more about that.
So I mentioned that I basically wasn't very good at sitting on my hands. So what I discovered was that actually, when you tidy up a room and a space, and it looks great for about a week and a half, and then the clutter starts to come back. I think that's what our home had been like. If someone was coming round, we'd have quickly tidied things away. Now, when I read Marie's book, what I discovered was I'd been doing it all wrong, for me anyway. And one of the things we do is, rather than tidy up by space, we tidy up by what we would call category. So whereas I had been not pulling everything out of a cupboard and looking at similar objects together, when I tidied my own house, and for example, I would tidy books or declutter books, I would go and find all the books from around my home and sort them out into piles of different types of books. So all my cookery books, which, yes, had been in the kitchen, but some of them were in the living room because they've been looked at for making recipes. And when you bring it all together, all of a sudden, there was this expanse of books that I had no idea that I had. And the same thing happens with clothes, the same thing happens with other things. We keep things in so many places around our home, and this is what had happened to us. It was all hidden away. When I got it out, I was able to then see the duplication and the sheer volume of stuff, which enabled me to make decisions, confident decisions about letting things go. And once I'd done that, I was then able to find homes around my house. And it made things so much easier to find when we needed them.
So yeah, it's about doing it properly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, in a nutshell. So Jenny, how did you come across Marie Kondo, and what was your journey on this as well?
Okay, as I shared, from an early age, I just loved living with simplicity and order. And I think that's a natural quality that some of us have, and it doesn't make us any better or any worse. That's just something that is really important to me. And I had a build and design company at the time, and I was the design part. So if people came and asked for some interior design, I would go in, and I realized from talking to people that actually what they were asking for wasn't just the ta-da, wallpaper change, a new sofa. What they were really expressing to me, not verbally, because they didn't understand that yet, but was that they weren't happy with how they were living, and they felt compressed, they felt overwhelmed. And it was then that I started to kind of realize that actually what they needed was someone to help them sort their shit out. And that isn't just the clutter, it's like emotional stuff, it's time pressure, it's so many different things. And so I started offering them a service and saying, look, I hear what you're saying, but actually maybe we could have a look at how you're living. And so I started doing that with them. And then a few months, it was probably a year later, I walked past a bookshop. I'm not a book person, I don't own any books, but I saw Marie's book and it was literally like glistening at me. So I went in and I bought it, I was obedient, and I just read it cover to cover and was like, oh my God, there's someone that does what I'm doing. And so I got in touch and did the course in New York, and then have been doing this ever since.
So clearly there was a synergy beforehand anyway. What would you say was the thing that most surprised you that you learned from actually doing the program?
Yeah, this is a really cool question, because actually I was a bit arrogant at the time, and I was like, yeah, this is easy, because actually I don't have anything in my house that I don't want. I had already done the process, but part of the training is that you have to, as Maureen said, you have to do it again. And actually doing it, I realized, oh my goodness, I don't have this appreciation for stuff, which is what I love about the method. Because for me, it had been really easy to let go of stuff that I didn't want, but was I actually really valuing what I did have? And so for me, that was the biggest learning. And I still think it is an incredible part of the journey.
That's so lovely, because that's like, we always talk about gratitude, actually being grateful for what you have. That's really interesting. That's all part of the program as well.
Yeah.
What about for you, Sue? What was the most surprising thing you learned from doing the program?
So for me, it's from doing the program and really understanding what sits underneath the method. It is the gratitude. It's the impact it has on making those positive choices about what you're deciding to keep and how that then filters down into other areas of your life. As Marie said in the video, yes, it starts with stuff, but it's not just about the stuff. If you start to think in a more positive way, it does filter throughout the rest of your life, and you're much more appreciative of what you've got, but you're much more careful in how you choose to spend your money on things, how you choose to spend your time, and that really came through.
Yeah, huge in this time when we're facing cost of living crisis, really. And what about you, Maureen? What surprised you most?
I think there might be two things, actually. The first one is there was a day dedicated to the psychology of having items in your home and why you have these items, where you put them, and the whole connection with your mindset. Are you actually collecting things? Why are you doing this? And positioning yourself, learning about yourself, and then also learning about the people we're going to support in their homes, because it's a very intimate area, obviously. And the second thing is the community of consultants and how lovely they are. I was not even thinking about them very selfishly when I started, the certification. I was really wanting to support others, but I was just seeing us as being trained for it. And the kindness, yes, I'm very grateful, talking about gratitude, I'm very grateful for the community of consultants and the knowledge they hold. So when we're stuck, or when a client is asking a question and you've got a possible answer that might not be for them, the knowledge amongst all of the other consultants means that you're going to get a variety of options to choose from because we're sharing so much.
That's interesting. So tell me a bit more about how, as a kind of community of consultants, how that works, how you talk to each other and how you communicate.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's a set process. I think still being very new, it's probably grown quite organically in the way we operate, but there's loads of WhatsApp groups, loads of messages, day in, day out. But I attended the virtual program, which means I felt, at the end of it, I felt a bit lost, didn't really know where to start, and I felt if I just hang up on that, who's going to hold me accountable, who's going to take me to the next step? So I reached out to a few people who were based in the UK, because it being virtual, people logged in from all over the world. So I sent tiny message who would want to connect through WhatsApp, maybe do a monthly catch-up. And so I started with a small group, so we're 4 or 5, a few of them are here, and we have our monthly checks on Zoom, and we hold ourselves accountable in terms of moving forward with our business, but also making sure that we respond to clients' needs as well, and sharing that knowledge I was talking about. So that's my small group. But then there's a wider UK community, and we've got a WhatsApp group again, and we're sharing constantly, talking about these opportunities, but also, we have somebody who needs help in that area. And because we all have different expertise, some of us are specialized in supporting people with special needs, for example, or I have a very eco-friendly vibe with the way I manage my business. So depending on who's the best place for that, we will take on and support the best match. I know you were talking about match earlier on. It's very much about this, making sure that we are the right person for our customer. So that the community helps with that.
Fantastic. It's very supportive, which actually this whole show we wanted to kind of it to feel very supportive. So that's really lovely. So Jenny, tell me, what do you think is? We've heard from so many tidying and professional organisers, I should say. So I'm interested to know what is different about the KonMari method to others.
Oh my goodness, I could talk for hours. I think what the KonMari method offers is a stop moment, really, and really an opportunity for you to reflect on yourself and how you're living and how you would like to be living. And I think we're kind of constantly bombarded with images, with products, in life in general, and it's so easy to kind of get caught in that rush, be on the hamster wheel of like, the kitchen's a mess, I need to deal with it. Whereas this method just says, stop, take a moment, breathe. What is it that you're really wanting? You know, how do you want to be feeling and how do you want to be living? And then from that, let's make some steps, you know, and there's no prescriptive time, there's no, you know, there's guidelines for sure, but it's not strict. It's something that should be joyful for you. And then ultimately, you will be living your best life. And that's going to be different for every single one of us. But I think that really intrinsically is the incredibleness of this method.
Would either of you like to add anything to that at all?
I'm constantly surprised by how far people go that I work with. So one of the things we do up front is we don't throw loads of clothes on the bed to start off with. We sit down and we chat with people and we ask them what's really important for them, as Jenny was saying, and how they want to live their lives. And so many of the people I work with will talk about that and they will have this vision for what they want to do. But the confidence grows so much as you're working with them that actually will surpass what they're doing, and it's about revisiting and where do they want to go now. And it's a really beautiful thing to see people grow like that.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think through lockdown, I think so many of us realised how actually our homes need to be our kind of haven, our place of sanctuary. And actually I think a lot of people realised that theirs wasn't, because they've been so busy that actually they'd neglected it, and therefore at that time when you needed your home to give you a big cuddle, you were just surrounded by this kind of feeling of being overwhelmed by everything, and the sort of anxiety that a lot of people felt from that. So it's really interesting, the kind of holistic approach to this. So what would you say what would you say your clients, Marie, I'll start with you, your clients take away from an experience of being with you?
I think that's what I was saying at the beginning, is they reach out for a reason, but because we're talking about the ideal lifestyle, it's not just to open a cupboard and it looks pretty inside. So it's really about making sure it's tailored to them and keeping that ideal lifestyle in mind, because that's going to make you want to go through the whole process. But it's not just a tidying method. So when it clicks, when they realize that they will enjoy going home, but it also means their mind is clearer. They have time because they're not searching for things. They know what they have. They've removed what they don't need, what doesn't bring joy, because that's the basic principle of the method. Then you have more time to step back and reflect on what you want to do, how you want to approach life, what brings joy, what activities, who are the people you should surround yourself with. And it's the holistic approach that, when it clicks, when they've got that eureka moment, it's just a brilliant moment.
How about you, Sue? What do you think your clients take away? What's the most important thing that they take away?
I think it's a renewed understanding of themselves. So it's not just about the stuff. It's never just about the stuff. The stuff is there causing an issue for them, and once you start it and you open up and they start to really understand how it is that they want to live their lives, and what would make them jump out of bed in the morning every day, and what's getting in the way of that at the moment, it can then lead to them making some really big changes in their lives. I've had a client who was into really eco things, so she did a lot of sustainable farming, but she felt very closeted in the place she was, and within a year of working together, she moved away from that and had moved her family into a mobile home, and she'd bought her own freeholding and she'd started her own business. And I'm not taking the credit for doing that. What I'm saying is it actually gave her the skills to be able to think about how her and her family wanted to live their lives.
Yeah, because I should imagine those skills kind of translate into so many areas, don't they? It's not just about the home. So yeah, it's interesting. What do you say, Jenny, that clients take away? The most important thing that they take away anyway from working with you?
I think that for everyone there's an energetic shift. we often fail to realize that everything is energy. And often, as Sue's just shared, clients that haven't been able to get pregnant suddenly fall pregnant, or people quit their job, something that they've been stuck in for ages and haven't had the confidence to let go of. People get promotions. Like, there are all these things which actually come as a result of doing this. It's like when you make the changes and there is an energetic shift within, then it allows other things to happen in life. And really, I suppose that's the thing that everyone has, but for everyone it's very different.
I don't know about you guys. It's made me feel very emotional.
Yeah.
It is interesting, isn't it? How you guys probably going around changing people's lives, just by doing this as a consultant. Do you know what? I've only just noticed that we've got a clock that is counting down here. I think I saw it earlier and thought that it was counting up. So I'm very conscious of the fact that some of you might have a question to ask. So I'm going to check with that first before I carry on with any of my own questions. So anybody here got a question that they'd like to ask our consultants? Okay, hang on, I'll come down here. You can either ask one specifically, or you can ask them all.
It's just in general. So I've gone through the process myself. I loved it. And I know you're not supposed to force people to do it. That's the key. You can't do it for other people. But sometimes, like my parents, for example, they're getting into 60s. My dad's about to retire. I think this is the perfect time for them to do it. But especially my dad. My mum, I've sort of convinced about how great it is. But how can you sort of get someone across that? Because I think you probably come across couples sometimes where one of them is really committed and the other might not be. So how do you say, like, get someone who might not be interested at all to see that this is a great way to do it, like for the next step in their life?
How do you take the horse to the water or something like that?
I was going to say, to start with, you're right, you can't force anyone. That's the principle. And you have people who do reach out and feel they're ready, and then when you start the process, actually not quite. It doesn't mean they won't be ready in the near future or further along, and then that will be the right time to come back to it. I'm going to take a personal example. Stop your cameras. If my husband hears it, he's not going to like it. But it's the leading by example that makes the difference. So you have to let go with gratitude, and really understand that you're doing the journey for yourself. And they will tag along, so they will see the benefit in your life. They will want to experience what you're experiencing. And I'm talking about my husband because he's the one saying, "Oh, your wardrobe, it looks really nice. So can we just do the same with mine?" And he was the one asking when actually he was kind of pushing it away to start with. So you will lead by example, and then as much as possible, bring them on the way as soon as you see there's an opportunity for it. But you might have different experience.
Do you want to add?
I've got a similar experience to that. So I've worked in the past with the wife in the relationship, and there has been resistance from the husband at times. So we tend to work on her things when he's not around. But then gradually what I was noticing was maybe he'd turn up at the end of the sessions and just ask what she'd done. And then you get the question, are you able to help me do this as well? And I've had someone turn up and start doing his own shoes while I've been working with the wife doing something else. And it's quite addictive. I think it's the fact that they see the visual impact of it, but also experience the ease around the home as well. You've got to trust in the process, and someone will follow.
I have to say, I don't know if you guys think that, I feel like I'm calmed by these three. You're very tranquil people. It's really lovely. Do we have any more questions?
Hello. How do you maintain the folding? So we're all busy, and I'm sure lots of people have tried it, and then they have a busy day, and the thought of having to sit there folding, they just give up. So how do you keep people on track?
It's interesting. Marie says in one of her books, I'm sure, don't quote me on this, but that she's never had anyone go backwards afterwards. And I genuinely can say the same. When you actually do the process from start to finish and you have gone through everything, you won't want to go back. You will notice that sock on the floor or that, and it's not from a what's the word, like really controlling thing. It's just, it feels out of place, and actually before you know it, you're just putting it away. It becomes second nature. But I think when people try and do things compartmentalized and you don't have the whole picture, then you don't have this reference point. So sometimes I'll start with doing someone's wardrobe and I'll say, right, this now becomes your sacred space. Don't let anything come into this. You know, like you might throw a dead battery or a receipt in there, and I'm like, no, like this is your sacred haven now. And then they start to really feel that. And then once you have that as your reflection, you start to see the other stuff, and you want to start raising the vibration, raise that to the next level. And so it's a very natural process that happens. It isn't like a forced thing, but actually, if you do it, it does. And I'm not just saying that, genuinely it's true.
I've got something there. So one of the things I always talk about with my clients is working on something that fits with their lifestyle. So it may come as a shock, but you don't have to fold your clothes if it doesn't fit with your lifestyle. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that on the demo stage later on. So some people find the folding a really lovely, calming, quiet time to do, but life happens. It really does happen. And actually life's meant to happen. That's what we're freeing up time to do, to enjoy doing the stuff you want to do. So every now and again you may need a little reset if folding's your thing, and to catch up. But actually, if you've gone through the whole process and you've managed to find a home for everything, and your undies are going in the right place in the drawer, they're just not looking as beautiful as they once did, that's fine, because automatically it's made your life easier and calmer, the fact that you're not looking for things anymore. So don't pressurize yourself, live your life.
I must admit, I don't fold my undies, so... any more questions?
Hi, thank you. I just had a question about emails. So does the KonMari method say or cover anything about emails? Because I just hate opening irrelevant emails. I don't even delete them, so I have like 37,000 unread emails across 4 mailboxes, and I tried sort of categorizing them into various mailboxes, and that sort of fell by the wayside and didn't keep up. So I just wondered if there's any advice about sorting out your emails.
Delete them all. Clearly delete them. No, I'm laughing, but I think it's probably very similar the way you operate physically in your home and the way the digital world invites itself. If it doesn't bring joy, just remove that completely. I don't know if Mary's got a very specific guidance for emails.
I love the way you're looking at me.
Goody.
Personally, I'll give a personal. Marie doesn't talk about when she first wrote the books, it wasn't as kind of catastrophic as our digital world is today. But definitely it's something we think about when we do the process with our clients. For me personally, I hate digital. If you try and look me up on Instagram or Facebook, you'll see I don't really have a presence, because that just isn't my thing. And likewise, I live kind of, people would say impeccably, but my digital space was a mess. And that was for a long time. And then when COVID came, I was actually, because it just felt like I was carrying this backpack around of heaviness, knowing that I had this like clutter in this, even though it was a virtual space, I didn't like it. And so, yeah, I started going through them, and I was like, this is painful. And I took the leap and I literally just deleted it all. And then I was like, from this point forward, and I'm not saying everyone do that, but that's what worked for me, because I it just wasn't any fun. And I was like, if anything's really important, pretty much I'm going to be able to find it. And it means from that point forward, if anything came in, I'd unsubscribe or I'd delete, and then I would just make some folders. And so now I'm on top of all of that. And I did the same with my photos, and I created beautiful photo albums and got them printed up. So, but it did take time. And so I think, as Maureen was saying, it's kind of for you to have a look at what's going on in life. Everything's a reflection of everything else. So like really have a look at where you're letting those hundreds of emails come in. Is there 100 other things that are coming in your day which isn't super important and isn't super supportive for you? And just gradually either just go, right, be done with that, or make the space to do it. And for some people it doesn't bother them. So, but for every single person it's going to be different. So just find your way.
You're very popular, 37,000 emails. I think we've got time for one more question, if anyone's got one. Over there.
I was just going to say, if you're going to start decluttering, where is the utmost place you'd start?
Well, do you want to say?
So, in Marie's method, we do tend to do it in a category order. So clothes is one of the easiest things that people generally find to declutter, because a lot of the time there's less emotional attachment to that. They're also very tactile, so you can pick them up and you can feel them, and you've probably heard of the expression spark joy, and that's one of the routes into understanding how you feel about things. So we would typically do clothes first and then books. But what I tend to do with clients as well is meet them wherever they are. So if someone is at the stage where actually they're finding a particular category is blocking things, for some people it might be kitchens or something like that. If they can't move any further on, then we look at the kitchen and then we go back and we do the process properly. So if you're doing it yourself, I would really recommend starting with clothes, because you'll find the process easier.
Thank you very much. I want to ask you, do you want to add?
I was just going to add, if you want to start, I always say to everyone, do the sock drawer challenge. Take your sock drawer, literally just your sock drawer, empty it all out, give it a good clean, pair them up, get rid of the holy ones and fold them nicely, and then just keep opening your drawer. Oh! And then the next day you might do your knicker drawer, and then there might be your jumpers, and then it might be the kitchen drawer. But just take one tiny thing and then be like, and it will inspire you.
I love that noise. I want to check, actually, how would somebody find a KonMari consultant if that's what they wanted?
Well, I guess there's a few different options. We're all listed on the KonMari website, so if you go online and check it out, and if you don't know where it is, we can help more on the stand just there. But we're all listed on the KonMari website, and then I'm sure if you use the old Google and type consultant and your location will come up as well. But we're here, so that's how you find us. You come and talk to us.
Well, talking of the KonMari stand, at 4 o'clock there's happy hour. I'm pretty sure that doesn't mean you're going to get 2 jugs of cocktails for the price of 1. I've got to go and find out about the happy hour, actually, but that's at 4 o'clock today. But yeah, it's worth going and visiting that. But thank you so